Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve Ramona and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so thrilled to have you join us today. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the idea of doing business and living life with a purpose. We believe that we approach our work and our lives with a servant's heart, we can truly make a difference. We created this show to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you to help you make impact in your world. While you're listening to my incredible guest, we're going to talk about masculinity, which as a male, I can't wait to talk about. And he's got some great experience and he's been doing this for a long time. So get your pad and paper out, whether it's electronic or paper, because you want to take notes. So I want you to think about how you're going to serve yourself and serve others today and how you're going to make that impact today. Don't wait for next week, the month after, which I hear from a lot of my audience is like, I waited too long. Do it today, right after you listen to this great show. And today's episode is proudly sponsored by our incredible partner, Pantheon Alliance. Imagine being part of an exclusive community of very high income and successful business owners and entrepreneurs from very diverse industries. This community is together building a thought leader platform to change the world. For more information, just reach out to me at any time and I'll get you that information. With that being said, impact. Us males make a certain impact and we are a little different. I guess men are from Mars and women from Venus, whatever that book is. We're going to talk more about the male masculinity, and women you're going to want to listen to. So I want to welcome my incredible guest, Owen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. It's an honor to be here.
Why in the heck do we get into male masculinity?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. What the good news is that we're starting to ask those questions now. You know, decades ago when I got into this, no one was asking. So a lot of people, institutions, even the media, and certainly research is starting to explore what makes men unique and how specifically, how can we support men to succeed? Because we're all realizing, and women are too, because they're our best referral source, that if a man succeeds, they succeed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you talk about this group, men's group you started in 95. So it's been a while. Now groups are all over and which is great because it's helping people in communities. Why'd you start it and what's the growth been like?
I started because I needed it. I had a few things I needed to heal. I healed those things, which are sort of physical and more mental things. But I realized that my relationships, with women, they weren't bad, but they weren't good. They weren't real satisfying for me or my partners. And I realized that I was the consistent variable that maybe I needed to do something about it. My thought was, oh, maybe I'll join a men's group. I don't want to do that. That's weird. That's too new agey or whatever. I go, well, if I have a charge, maybe I should explore it. So I explored it. Ended up creating my first men's group out of my integrated medical clinic I had in Scottsdale, and that was in 1995. That was a mediocre group, but it got me enough involved where I pursued it. And then in '05, I really changed the model for men's groups, and it ended up being the model for men's work. And from there on, it just exploded.
What's the what are the members going to get out of this group? What's your goal with them?
My goal has always been with my clients and people I work with is to get you so you don't need me, but specifically to sort of retrain the men and that as men, we struggle often in a more emotional context, which is, specifically in relationships. And it's a function of a couple things, which are really not our fault, but obviously our responsibility to change. And the first one is the impact of stress and trauma has on us. And my training has really been in the science and the practice of somatic psychotherapies, which is in body work, which is how to use the body to change our emotions. So we work with men's physiology, and as men understand and can apply some simple practices to downregulating or relaxing their stress response, a lot of positive things happen, not just physically, but particularly in this context, more emotionally and in terms of their relationships with people. And then the other variable is the culture we've grown up with. And because it's the water we've been swimming in, we don't really realize it. But the culture has really limited us as men in some ways that we're somewhat aware of, in that, we get our reward by how well we perform, not by how well we're emotionally connected, for example.
How does this help a business owner, entrepreneur, somebody working Apple 8 to 5? How are we helping them in the workplace?
Those are usually my primary coaching clients, and a lot of the men that we have coming to our trainings and our groups, entrepreneurs, professional men, and they tend to come because they're usually succeeding in work, but they don't have a matching success at home with their primary partner or their kids, or their passion in life or their profession. But what happens is, because what we created, it works pretty quickly, and it's all really naturalistic. We're just retraining the nervous system to do what it should have learned how to do in the beginning. So it doesn't, for most guys, take long to learn, and because it is naturalistic, it's sustainable. But what happens is they start to develop some of these simple skills, which roll into their ability to connect to people. And then they find that they're connecting differently at work. And I work with, I have for years, a lot of entrepreneurs, and what they find is their stress goes down and their ability to communicate and lead goes up, because, as you can imagine, just from the fact that they're not so stressed out, they're better leaders.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mental health's a big problem these days. I'm sure you got a lot of members coming aboard, unfortunately, but you're there to help. Crossover between life and business. People talk about life balance and business balance. I'm not a big fan of it, because it can't be, because if a founder has a divorce going on, he's got $100 million company, it's going to affect the company, but you minimize that effect. And how do you do that?
First, we just tell these guys, look, you're not bad, you're not broken. There's really nothing inherently wrong with you. The problem is that you've endured from childhood on stress and maybe trauma that has impinged upon your nervous system and your body's ability to deal with any current stress or maybe trauma. So you become less resilient or less stress tolerant. So we can change that. And it's, the concepts aren't hard, and the practices can be actually pretty simple and quick. So we do that so that sort of downregulates the stress response. So, he might think he's relaxed, but his nervous system is habituated at this level. But once he learns some of these skills, it just drops down, and all that extra resilience is more capacity for creation, or creativity, connection. And he comes home at night not so stressed out, which is a setup from him just being more present for his family.
So it sounds like being present at work. When you're at work, you're going through that divorce. It's there, of course, but be present at work, take care of what you need. When you get home, then you have to take the stress of the divorce and figure all that out.
Right. And often we work with guys that come to us that are on the verge of the relationship or marriage breaking up, or maybe they're going through it. Because that's, look, I've been working for guys for almost 50 years, and particularly professional guys. And the joke's always been, with docs and dentists too that I know, is that guys don't do things until we have to. Women are better. I mean, I got a lot of funny stories I could tell, but the bottom line is we usually wait until we don't have a choice. And so often guys come in and it's usually more a relationship critical thing rather than work. And more often than not, when we get the guy back dialed into his own emotional and physical experience, in other words, connected to himself, he starts to connect to his wife, and he, more often than not, he saves the marriage. Because most of these guys do not want to lose the marriage. And if they do, or if they just had a divorce and it's, they're beyond that, we help train them so that next relationship is a successful relationship. Because most of these guys are smart enough to know that, like with me, they're the consistent variable. And if they don't change, their lives won't change.
Amen to that. Oh my God. And it's interesting you say about us making decisions. Healthcare is what comes to my mind. Us guys are like, oh, we feel fine, don't need to do our check. My wife's so great, get me in my checkups. So you brought back a great memory. I love that, because that's where it could be really serious, because you're talking possible serious injury or serious illness or possible death. So it's I love what you're doing. You said something that was very subtle, but I want to bring back out. You said, so they don't need me, after, and paraphrasing.
Mm-hmm.
That is a servant's heart, which why I'm so glad you're on here. Talk about why you have that mindset. Instead of some coaches like, hey, you need me for 3 or 4 years. We need that. Yeah, you're shaking your head. Why do you have that mindset?
Well, selfishly, I get bored if I have the same person.
Okay.
Well, and that sort of goes into the other thing is, if I can't help you, if I'm not the best person for what you want, I'll send you to someone else. And I've always been doing that. But more specifically, because I've always worked with the body, I found that when we can shift our chronic stress level, or downregulate it, or release some of the chronic stress, all that extra energy goes into healing, connection, and creativity. And once that happens, and once we have some of these simple skills, you don't need to keep learning. And so another way to say this, my company, my work is not prescriptive. Yeah, so if you come to me, Steve, I don't tell you what to do. I might guide you in certain ways, but really what I'm doing is educating you and your body. And then inevitably what happens is you start to connect to resources that have been buried in you. And so one of the things that happens in stress, and there's a lot of research I don't need to go into, I could if you wanted to, how we disconnect when we're in stress. It's a freeze response. And so we have all these parts we disconnected from, which are really resources. And so as men and women downregulate and they start to reconnect to themselves, they're actually reconnecting to parts of themselves. And these parts are really answers to a lot of the challenges that they currently have in their life. Mm-hmm. And so I'm more of a guide to getting them reconnected and sort of affirming their connection, and maybe supporting them in practicing these old or maybe new skills, so that once they have the practice down, it's like once you learn to ride a bike, you don't need me to teach you to ride your bike anymore.
Yep. Yeah. And that's so powerful. And the other thing, I forget what the other thing you said, but it's really because you're successful. I'm just gonna flat out say it. You're successful by saying, well, the other thing you said was, hey, if you're not fit for me, I'll find somebody else. You just lost some money, but that's not what you look at. You're helping somebody else, helping this possible.
Well, and
client,
and
right?
I've been in practice long enough that in the long run, you gain money, because I've had people come to me and say, you worked with Sally, and what you told her, you said, I can't help you. And I haven't met anyone that did that. So I want to go see you. So I don't get Sally, but I get Jane. But at the end of the day, I go home and I just feel much happier with that approach than the approach of, trying to keep clients just because I need them.
I think I found a new host for my podcast, because that's exactly what this is all about. Exactly what you said. Worry about the people. We're in a people asset business. Take care of the people. More people will come. Your assets will rise. I'm excited. I found out you have a nonprofit. Is that correct? You have a nonprofit organization?
I also have a nonprofit called MenCore, which I formed, 10 years ago or more, that really supports men in creating these free peer-to-peer groups. And that's where I started. And that's the other part of what's unique with our work, is that we train and support men to have their own free groups, because that's what I've been creating for now 3 decades. And it's amazing what happens in these groups when a man has an emotionally safe space and a little guidance up front, but not a lot, but a little, like, so, okay, these are the guardrails, go in this direction, but you determine where you want to go and how fast you want to go or who you want to go with. But this is what biology tells you to do in terms of what works. And we do that for groups, and we got groups that have been going on for, there's one group I started in Sandpoint, Idaho, 20 years ago. I invited 11 guys. Now we've had over 500 men in this group. We got 60 guys in 5 groups, and I'm in one of the groups, which is a Zoom group for the expats. And this organization is just growing and growing, and I'm not there. I'm not doing anything, but I train these guys how to do it, and they've completely taken over this organization and they run it themselves.
And it's free to them and free to the members. That's the other servant's heart checkbox, is give away stuff for free. It's vital. And again, I'm going back to this, Owen. I want to do this because people are like, I can't do that. I can't be successful. Well, you're breaking that model. You've been doing 50 years, giving away free stuff, saying no to people, and serving your people and saying, hey, you're good to go, way to go. How does that make you feel?
Well, I was going to say there's a selfish part to that too. And then, or another, and is that I just found years ago, I end up getting really good clients when I do that. I get people that shop value and not price. And so my clients refer really good clients, and good clients are people that want to work. The people I can help, people like the ones I have helped.
Yeah.
And you know that because those people send people like them. And so that, that has me feel really good because I don't have bad clients. We don't in our company, we don't get bad guys coming to trainings. Sometimes they're a little hesitant and resistant, but we had a guy a few years ago that came to our training, big ex-military special forces guy, tattooed, muscular, and he says, the first thing he says when we do like the big group check-in is, I don't like guys and don't touch me. Mr. Tough Guy. And at the end, 2 days later, he's saying, I love you all. I want to hug you all. Let me know what I can do for you. And
2 days. 2 days, you said.
2 days.
2 days. Well,
and he's a serial entrepreneur, really successful. And we knew he was, underneath the toughness, he was a real teddy bear. But, he hadn't had a safe place to feel it, let alone express it. But, he was sort of observing every guy. Near the end, he started participating. But he saw that all these guys were real. They were authentic. They were taking a risk. And, he didn't want to be left out. So at the end, he felt safe enough and opened up enough where he truly just wanted to hug everyone.
It's the power of FOMO. I'm not a big fan of FOMO, but this is a place where it works because
Exactly.
it's to the positive energy. Wow, that's an incredible show. So one question I have for you, I have a lot of audience, people I know are listening, who want to start nonprofits. One, what's the challenges to get started, and what did you overcome? How did you overcome those challenges?
It's really pretty easy these days because the IRS has a new way to do it. So if it's a small nonprofit, and I think if it's your revenue or your endowment or whatever, it's like 5,000 or less. But look, I'm not a CPA, so don't quote me on
Right.
this. But you have a short form. It's really simple to do. It's quick. It's immediate, and so that part's easy. And you just do it, and you start doing whatever you want to do. And because it's a nonprofit, you don't have to worry about making money.
Yeah. No, and I like that. And everybody, he's right, not CPA, I'm not either. Just Google it. That's the phrase. It'll give you the information. You'll probably get the form. And I'm actually going to do that and share that with people. I didn't know that was the case. So thank you. The other side of you, which you have so many sides to you, I think you're like a Rubik's Cube. Your book. You wrote a book about emotional health. What's the name of the book and what was the inspiration?
Well, the basic name is Grow Up, and it's about, it's for men, and it's really, it's sort of tongue in cheek because ultimately it's not a challenge. It's just that, I saw that there were like 9 phases of our maturation process, and it's for men, but there's a certain parallel for women, but my specialty is men. And essentially what happens is, for whatever reason, if we skip over a phase, we don't get the experience, the learning, maybe the mistakes, the integration of that phase, we have a hole there. And then we tend to keep tripping into that hole. If we hadn't, had that full experience to mature beyond that phase. And so we all have little holes in our life, sometimes big ones. So it sort of lays that out, and it's like, what can you do to, fill those holes so that your foundation as a man is just more solid.
Yeah. And Grow Up's a great name. It's just quick and easy. I love it. Amazon, where else? Is it Amazon the best place to get
Amazon,
this
yeah.
book? Yep. So search Grow Up. I'm going to do it after. Actually, make a note to do that. Speaking of growing up, you said something, earlier we talked about healthcare and we don't do anything. In business too, decision making is such, especially now with COVID. How does what you do help this founders, entrepreneur, CEO make better decisions or just make a decision without the fear of, hey, I did this, I'm screwed?
That's a good question. All these people are bright. The problem is, and this gets into that freeze response, and real simply, we're hardwired to fight and flight. We all know that. And more people are starting to realize that there's a third hardwiring, and it really comes from our reptilian ancestors and beyond. So when they couldn't, because they can't really fight and run, they would just freeze or pretend they're dead. So when we can't fight or run, what happens is we default to this freeze response. And that's what's happening in a natural world. An animal that goes there, like another mammal, gets out of that survival or traumatic situation and literally trembles and shakes it off, and he resets himself. We don't get to do that. And so it just slowly accumulates. So we're under stress, our stress goes up, and then we have all these pieces of papers and people calling us and all these decisions to make. And suddenly it's like overload. And we're going, this is a simple decision. And I don't know what to do. And we don't know what to do, not because we're dumb. We don't want to know what to do because our physiology is maxed out. Mm-hmm. And one of the businesses I used to have was one of the first mindfulness-based stress reduction companies in the country. This is back in Phoenix in the mid-90s. And that process was developed by a researcher famous guy, John Kabat-Zinn, that really put mindfulness on the map with his course. And we were the first company teaching this course. And we used to get referrals from all these hospitals and physicians, and they're all, for the most part, the people you're talking about. And, they had physical things that the docs were concerned with, but they also had emotional relationship things they were concerned with. And the doc said, look, we tried everything, it hasn't helped. Go see these guys. I think they can help you. And we tell them, we do like a pre-interview. All right, I think we can help you, no promises, but you're going to have to do 45 minutes of homework every day. Oh, I'm too busy to do that. Okay, you can't do the course. But I have to. And so almost everyone could say, all right, I'll agree to do the 45 minutes. Within 3 weeks, you couldn't take that practice away from them. And it wasn't just that, they were, learning to connect with themselves or do somatic or mindfulness meditation. It was that they had 45 minutes of their own time that was legitimate. So they told people at work or at home or whatever, don't interrupt me. And it was amazing how these people would change from just doing some simple practices. Now, we don't go that far as 45 minutes, but I remember one woman, she came, and her boss came, who was a PhD psychologist, mainly just to see that this woman would show up. So I did this woman's pre and post interview. And in the post interview, she was telling me how her relationship with her estranged daughter was now healed. Now, her boss was telling me how, before she came, they rushed her to the hospital twice in that previous year because her blood pressure was so high and she was on all these meds. By the time she'd finished the course, she was off her meds, her blood pressure was normal, and her boss said everyone at work liked her again.
Wow.
And it was just stress. And she kept on saying every week, it was an 8-week course, oh, I don't think I'm doing the homework right. And my partner and I would say, just do it. It's not about doing it right. It's just about doing it.
The activity, the action. Wow. And even if it didn't work for her, she did it. She learned there's something else she needs to do, where the indecision she didn't do either way. So she's 8 weeks later, she still has the stress. She still has the problems. That's a great story. Well, we come to the end here, man. Time flies when you talk to great people. This is just amazing. I've got a fun question I like to end the show with, just to get to know you a little bit better. So you have a reservation at a restaurant, table of 4. You're, of course, sitting in one chair. Who would you invite, dead or alive? And why would you invite them to sit in the 3 chairs? And what food would you order?
And one of the persons I've invited is a friend of mine. I just met her again a couple days ago down in LA. Her name is Esther Perel. Uh, she's an amazing person, brilliant, probably the best known therapist out there, speaks 9 languages, and I struggle with one. Uh, but I actually first met her at a dinner many years ago. But she's just so brilliant of being able to cut through the stuff and nail what's really happening. Um, I got some of the classic people, if I could go from the past, people that are no longer alive. Jefferson, I really was impressed with how he created the Constitution. And unfortunately, he didn't run his estate that way, but he was an amazing man, as Franklin was. Mandela. Um, and I'm impressed with people that just are willing to speak the truth, even though I might not agree with it or whatever, that they're willing to take the hit. Now, currently, for me, it's Robert Kennedy. I mean, I followed him decades ago when he was, created the river keepers. He saved the Hudson River and then other rivers and fought these big chemical companies when no one else could. He won. And then he took on the, pharmaceutical companies, not to fight vaccines, but just to make them safe, and took a huge hit for that. So, I've had a few times in my life when I've had to take hits and nothing like that. But like Mandela and, so many of these people, they had a mission and they were willing to do whatever they needed to do, to further that mission. If it meant, being the target of other people's vitriolic attacks, they were willing to do that.
Yeah, Mandela spending time in jail. That's the biggest sacrifice anybody can make.
Yeah.
So what are we ordering food? What are we eating?
Well, I'm a health kind of guy, so we're going to eat
All
healthy
right.
food. Uh, Vegetables, I like almost anything, but um, I'd like to go to some kind of exotic restaurant. So if you're coming with me, find an exotic restaurant that has unusual food.
Good. We're
Surprise
good
me.
vegetarian. Yeah, I like
No, I'm
it.
not a vegetarian. I eat meat, and
Oh,
you're a
okay,
vegetarian.
good. No, I'm not. No, no, no.
No, I eat pretty much
Usually,
anything.
yeah, healthy meats and yeah, okay. Well, you're on it. That's at a table. I'm just thinking as you're talking, like, what conversations would happen at that table? Be fun to record them if we could, which we can't. Well, I want to thank you, Owen. You have showed me and my audience the servant's heart that you have, but the success that you're having because of it. And I think that's an important lesson that people learn. So people have listened to you and are going to listen to you in the future. How can they get a hold of you and support you?
Yeah, it's simple. Just come to our website. It's MELD, MELD dot community. It's community spelled out. We have free resources. We have a weekly newsletter that, anyone can sign up for. We have a free membership for men. We do this really kick-ass 10-week virtual course that's been proven. We've done studies on it. One of the studies just got published a few months ago in the big APA journal. And it does a lot of what we said earlier about, getting men connected through their body and learning how to deal with their stress and connect to others. Yeah, we do group coaching, and we have what we love doing is live events, like I described, where a group of guys come together in a course of several days, and it's not a challenge, deprivation kind of training. We find beautiful venues, good, healthy food, comfortable accommodations, and we train you and your body on how to reconnect.
That being said, audience, you better reach out to them, especially if you want to connect more. And again, I'll say this, you're all in the people asset business. You have to learn to connect. If you don't know how to connect, you'll never have people in your business and you won't be successful. So thank you, Owen. This has been incredible. Do me a favor, audience, subscribe to the to the YouTube channel. And here's why. Not that I want more subscribers. Of course, that's nice. But you get to listen to this, find his show again, and maybe share it to somebody. They're going, hey, you really need to see this, my male friend. You need to connect better. I just think it's easier when it's too hard to find these shows. people won't remember to share them. So that's good reason. Comment on the YouTube channel. If you have comments for Owen, I'll get them to him. Or if you want to critique the show, good or bad, I want to learn, because this show, me and Owen want, is for you. He wanted to motivate you, inspire you, and educate, which I think he did. And it's not going to be everybody, but if we just affected one person today, we're going to be so extremely happy. And as always, me and Owen want to thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.